Well, I've upgraded. So, you might be wondering, whatever happened to the old scooters? Well, simple. I traded them for this thing. This is a 2016 Harley Davidson Street. It was mostly all stock. Ignore all that. And this video is more of a review to the whole street. When I was a kid, I say that, oh gosh, we're getting old. When I was a kid, I remember these coming out. And apparently nobody liked them. So I thought I'd snag one up. It was a first bike. I always thought they were cool. I wanted a Shadow, but I wanted an American bike. That's kind of what this thing is. And it's a very beginner-friendly bike. I mean, seems to shift great. Handles great on the highway. Has a little bit of a wobble, but we'll get to that in a minute. It's a very user-friendly bike, for the most part. Now, I didn't see a lot of filled reviews with this bike, and that's what we're going to do. So I've owned this bike about 4 months. And I gotta say this with all due respect. It's a love-hate relationship. This isn't really a yes bike or a no bike. This is literally my daily driver. It is have-to bike. Yeah. And since it's a daily driver bike, well, it's got a couple flaws. For starters, suspension. That suspension is violent. Now this bike, in my opinion, it was supposed to fit in so many niches, and it failed most of them. I've heard story of this was supposed to be a Europe, sold in Europe or whatever. This was supposed to be a beginner bike. This was supposed to be a whole bunch of other things. This was supposed to, laughably, this was supposed to replace the Sportster or whatever as a beginner bike. Well, I've ridden both of them, the 883 and the Sportster. And honestly, if I had the choice, I'd pick the Sportster if you're looking for a beginner bike. But if you want a beginner bike that is sporty-ish, that has a little pep in its step, that seems a little unique from the traditional Sportster, the traditional Harleys, this is it. Now, within the first 2 months of owning this, the battery left me stranded I don't know how many times. It's not necessarily the bike's fault. It is more so of the dealership's fault, which I'm not going back there ever again. Here's the hate side. I always like to start with the hate side. The service for this bike is horrible. And I feel like it was kind of Harley's fault that it died. It could have been so much more. And look at it. The majestic blues, simple little seat with a little bit of secondary passenger going on there. Sporty rear fender. Well, depends on who you talk to. Belt drive, water cooled. And can we talk about how far you can enter a corner on this thing? I mean, it's scary for a beginner like me on a bike. But it's a good kind of scary. This bike gives thrill. And I feel like if Harley had just tweaked a little more into their servicing of the consumer, it would have been a better bike. That being said, this is what has happened to me. Took it in under the warranty they gave me. Of course, this is a used bike. You don't get a new warranty, but took it in underneath the warranty they gave me. And by theory, I should be able to get a battery replacement. Well, guess what they wouldn't do? The battery replacement. I was told it was bad gas, it was this, it was that. You know, it could have been user error. It's been sitting up too long. I'd like to add, I put 91 in this. This is an 87 only engine. But to remove doubt, I run 91 in it. Just because. Because I know the street rods run 91, and I wasn't sure if this was an in-between year or something. I just didn't want to bump the engine, pretty much. And so we knew it wasn't fuel. We knew it wasn't any of my add-ons. Like, I've got my camera mount, my phone mount, my charger. Those power off with the key. None of that tolls on the battery. It wasn't anything I did. They wanted to charge me anywhere between like $400 and some change for just battery replacement, and it would have voided the warranty that I had. And frankly, at that point, the warranty's useless. The next thing that broke was the tag light. When I got it back, the tag light didn't work. And well, I don't like police that much. Not that I don't hate them or anything, I just don't like paying tickets. Yeah, they wanted to charge me more money to fix that. I can't remember how much. And it was when I was installing these saddlebags. These are Amazon, by the way. I do another review on those later. When I was putting in the saddlebags, there was just a connector just laying there, and they wanted to charge me. I know it was more than $200. I did not like that at all. I felt like that was kind of a cheese ball run there. Like, if a guy owns the bike for like a month at least, because I can return this thing, I think, in 30 days, and there's something else about 3 months that I can swap it out, basically. Like, at least take care of the guy for the first 3 months. That's all I ask. And because it really ruins business, in all opinion. And I mean, Harley's already kind of suffering now, but that ain't my battle today. And then, of course, after that, the blinker quit working. They wanted to charge, I know it was more than $100 to fix it. You know what it was? That's right, the wire broke. This sheathing gets very hard and brittle, and it cuts off the wire. Very big no-no. The throttle was loose. I asked them to fix that when I had it in the shop. That was not fixed. I had to cut this dry rotted sheathing off, tighten the cables, all that sorts of stuff like that. And now my throttle's a little bit better. And of course, you know, when I bought it, the blinker switch. You might notice, if you look up online, these are not the correct mirrors or the correct switches, at least on this side. Well, let me to educate you what happened there. They told me before I bought it, oh yeah, we'll fix that blinker. The blinker never got fixed. I mentioned it. They said, oh well, our technician looked at it. He said it's fine. It fell off while driving 2 days later. I kid you not. So, you can't find the blinker switches. You can't find these switches for this bike anymore. But to the guys out there that probably are watching this, you know, having one out back that's got a broken switch, go on Amazon, pick any metric bike, and the controls are the exact same. The wire number is the same. Everything is the same. You just have to know your wiring diagrams, all that stuff. Which, yeah, that's not hard to find. Go on a Harley forum or Harley themselves; they'll get it for you. And you just need to know your wire color for this, and yeah, you can get it down on the road. This is just the service side of it. It was very horrible. Getting parts for this thing is really difficult, mostly because it's a what's Harley call it? Obsolete. That's what's called, obsolete. Again, a darn shame. This bike does not feel obsolete. It kind of hurts to say that it's obsolete. It's a really great bike. So For example, I used to be really nervous about getting on the highway. This thing makes me pretty daggum near confident of taking the highway and the corners on the highway. If you're a beginner rider and you're scared of corners, this thing corners like a dream. I mean, it just stays hugged. And now, the pros of the drivability. Like I said, hug's great, accelerates great. You've got a 6th gear. The Sportster only has 5 gears. In the 0 to 60, this is actually quicker than the Sportster. I've beaten a couple of stock Sportsters. And I have a feeling that if you'd modified these a little bit more, you could actually have... I feel like if Harley would have kept this engine around, you would have had a dang quick engine. I mean, the potential is just there. And, I mean, yeah, you can't beat this kind of reliability. I've seen people abuse these things. Engine-wise, phenomenal. Maintenance, very easy to do. Your starter's in the front. You just take this bar up. Your fan, 4 bolts. Comes right off. Swap it right out. Air filter, 1 bolt. Swap it right out. I mean, shoot. Your oil filter, you probably can't see it, but it's tucked away up in there. Literally, you can just reach up underneath the bike by hand practically and take it off. I mean, it's not even that hard. You want to swap out to forward controls? It's done. Oils, well, it's right there in your teeth. Go ahead and get it. You want to do the spark plugs? 1 bolt takes practically the whole tank off. I mean, the serviceability is just crazy for this bike. And honestly, I would probably buy it again. Now, so far as handling goes, which is a very important factor for a beginner. It's great. Again, this is a bike that has a lot of pros and a lot of cons. It's a love and hate. So, for example, you'll probably, one of the most important things to learn first off and in the basics is the clutch. The clutch is an on-off switch. Literally, this thing does not engage. Like, doesn't engage, doesn't engage, doesn't engage, doesn't engage. Engaged. Yeah. You can't even feather it either. It's more of you have to feather it with the throttle and not the clutch. If that makes any sort of sense. Which I've driven clutch before. It's the opposite of how they usually work. I don't know how else to explain it. Another thing, the mirrors on these things sucked. Like, a lot. In fact, I'll probably do a video on it. We're going to be putting some mini apes on this thing to give it kind of a, what's that? Not chopper, but, you know, the really tall handlebar. But we're not going to go that high with it. Just enough to be comfortable. But the mirrors on this thing suck. And you might notice this hole here. Well, it really limits to where this was. Like, this was all the way down here. I could not reach the clutch. Just same thing over on that side. I could not reach the brake. Not properly anyway. I got some short fingers. And that's kind of dangerous, in my opinion. So I took the mirror off, and that's why this is all here now. Now, so the mirrors would like stop right here, like right there. Not even where this mirror is. The visibility is still horrible, by the way, but not anywhere as bad. You could only see your shoulders with the mirrors. And a lot of people in the forums are like, this should be recalled. And honestly, I 100% agree. That is very dangerous not to be able to see behind you from factory. And you could not get any sort of modified mirror for this thing. because this is, I think, either, I want to say it's M10. Yeah, M10s, and then they would have this M8 adapter, which goes into this stem here. Well, Harley uses a different type of thread pitch. Any other mirror that you would buy, yeah, so in terms of visibility, very garbage. You could not adjust the mirrors, you could not replace the mirrors. The right way to do it is to replace the whole controls and add these clamps. That's about it. If you want to daily drive it, or add bar ends. You can add bar ends. Another thing is taking off. Remember how I said it has a very on-off clutch? And that it's kind of opposite, counterintuitive as to how you take off? Yeah. So I would show you, but you know, y'all are on my phone, so you know, my camera is being a bunch of junk. Camera recommendations are needed, by the way. Now, another thing that I was going to mention is this clutch when you go to take off. It just does this jerking motion. It goes, nah, 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 nah. And it's almost like you feel like you're stalling the bike, but you're not stalling the bike. Like I've had people that have ridden bikes before, and they're like, yeah, this thing's really, really weird. And I've already put new clutches in it. I've already done the clutch adjustment. I've done everything for this bike. It's just weird. Now, it's only in low speed maneuvers. Second gear is also very clunky. It doesn't matter what RPM you're at. It kind of does this lurch. Doesn't matter how you shift. It's just kind of like a sudden kick. And it's nothing too bad. I can live with it. Again, if you're getting this as a beginner bike, are you really going to care? I mean, so another thing to take into consideration is highway driving. Now, if you're just buying this just to tootle around to work and back like I do, it doesn't really apply to you. But if you really want to hit highway, this thing, and again, I thought it was terrible, and then a lot of owners told me this is normal. They have a very weird shimmy in the front, going about anywhere between 60, 80 mile an hour. I didn't want to push it anymore. I've had this thing up to like 90 at some point without realizing, until I realized, because the whole thing felt like it was going to vibrate apart. The shimmy is that bad up front, and I don't know why that is. And it will also kind of appear at low speeds too, anywhere between 20 and 30. So I've had the tire rebalanced, I've had the front forks redone, I've had them checked to make sure they're not bent, everything you can think of. Yeah, it's all been done. I've even checked this rotor here, because it does kind of look a little warped. Nope, it ain't that either. So we're gonna do something with the front end. Now, if you don't mind the shimmy, like me, I just crank my music up and pretend that I don't feel anything. If you're a lot like me and an idiot, probably don't have to pay any attention to it. Now, as far as highway goes, if you ignore it, I ain't gonna lie, it is kind of therapeutic. It is it never seems to get hot. In fact, the fans don't kick on unless you do like 2 hours worth of riding. I'm not kidding. They stay very cool. It's one of those bikes that if you think you can work through this shimmy up here to go to work and back on the highway, I would get it. I actually like taking this thing out on the highway minus that shimmy. Of course, there is a downside, as again, this thing gets extremely hot for a liquid cooled engine. And if you're sitting at a stoplight you're burning, like really, really bad. I'm trying to fabricate some sort of shield from here to here, so your leg isn't touching this head here, and yeah, it just burns really bad. This is like one of those bikes where it just wants to go all the time. That's kind of how I define this bike's personality. Both the 500 and the 750 is this bike wants to go all the time. And that all being said, if you're that one type of guy that wants something kind of sporty, but also likes a classic look, there you go. But if you're the kind of person that's going to take this thing out in the summer, just want to use it as an old beater, you're going to suffer a lot. I'm just saying it how it is. Trying to think of what else. Oh yeah, fuel mileage. Yeah. My scooter, the Helix that I traded in for this as a partial trade-in, had horrible gas mileage because it just wasn't tuned right. I've tried putting carbs on it. I've tried putting fuel tanks in it, fuel lines, fuel pumps. Horrible gas mileage for a 250. It was really shocking. This thing seems to do very, very good on gas mileage. I want to say these have close to like 40, 50 combined or something like that. I don't know. But I know for a fact that I only have to fill this tank up like twice a month. And I do a lot of riding. I think you get like 170 something mile range. It's a 3.5 gallon tank, I do believe. Better than the Sportster. In my opinion, better than the Sportster. The Sportster that I kept riding had to keep filling it seemingly all the time. And that's about it. Now, here's the con to fuel mileage. This thing seems like it's running rich, but it's running lean. I cannot explain it. I've had it to the shop. They say it runs normal. This thing smells hog rich. And it smells like burnt fuel, not unburnt. Why or how or what, I don't know. But the other complaint is this fuel cap. If you're a person that wants one of these, I highly suggest that you park it inside. But what will happen is if you sit this outside, this thing, and many other gas caps like this suffer from this, they seize, and yeah, I can't open my fuel cap now. I gotta take her back home, rework it, with some lubricant or something like that, get it loose. And that's kind of the issue with fuel. And of course, the manuals conflict themselves all the time. It's either 91 or 87. Ironically, the original Streets were meant to run 87 because they were supposed to be a really cheap bike. I know in some years they run 91 and some they run 87. I always run 91 as a side of caution. Seems to do better with 91. Of course, that's not to be confused with the Street Rod, which is supposed to run 91. So, fuelability, pretty good. Balance, I mean, this thing's, I want to say 500 and something pounds, like 565 or something like that. Very, very lightweight for a beginner. You can't go wrong with it. I mean, it's a V-twin too. I mean, very light. I don't know what your shadows typically run, but my legs are not burning holding this thing up at a stoplight. I can hold it up all day. Of course, belt drive seems to be a little bit safer in my opinion. If you're that guy that's a worry Nancy about motorcycle riding, about here's the horror stories of chain snap, that sort of stuff, belt drive, don't worry about it. I will say there's a con to it. Of course there is. Here, where my finger's pointing, is the main sprocket. There's a bolt that goes in there, and it is known to shear off. And I don't know what year they fixed this, so I don't know if mine's been fixed or not. So that's great. So if you're gonna buy one of these, replace that like in a heartbeat. Don't even hesitate. Don't even go, well, it doesn't act like. If that thing shears off, it's stuck in your transmission. Go ahead, replace it. What's another thing? Oh yeah, the pros. I actually kind of like how this thing shifts. It's got mid shift controls, and of course, you know, it's got the old toe down thing. Nothing new with the shift pattern, anything like that. It's standard universal bike. It is a 6-speed. You do have that extra 6th gear on the highway. Now, the bad about that, I've heard a lot of folks mention forward controls. Me personally, I don't see the benefit of forward controls. I feel perfectly comfortable with the mid controls. However, I feel like once I change these handlebars, that's going to change dramatically. So, what does all this mean? Well, this is the con. Problem with this Street is once you change one thing, you have to change 50 different things. And the controls are always like that. So, like, to find mid controls, or to find forward controls, which in my opinion they should have came forward from the factory, they did not. You're gonna have to shell out about $300, and then you're gonna have to modify that linkage bracket. You're going to have to modify that brake bracket, and none of those are fun. You have to modify your exhaust. You have to do all sorts of things. So, yeah, the handlebars, that's my next little nitpick. I love the look of the handlebars. The Street Rod looked terrible with a flat bar. They wanted to do like a cafe racer sport, something cheesy. It was horrible. I did not like it one bit. I thought it looked cheesy. I thought it was just ugly. This style, I love this style. However, it just doesn't seem to fit the bike. Now, riding around, if again, beginner factor here, riding around, these bars are pretty good. However, because of the forward controls and because of how you sit on the bike, you're constantly leaning like halfway forward. You're not quite leaning forward, you're not quite leaning back. And that's with these maxed out backwards. Yeah, I had to throw all that backwards. So yeah, you're gonna need to put new handlebars on it if you want to daily drive this thing, like I do, or change the foot control. I mean, if you're a somewhat of a taller person, this probably wouldn't work, I feel like. Now, if you're a little bit of a shorter guy or gal, it would probably work just fine. You just need to pull the handlebars back a little bit more. The issue with these handlebars is I feel like they should have came with at least an inch of rise from the factory. Like I said, you're constantly either bent over or you're leaning back. And it's just, it doesn't matter how you adjust them. The controls are fixed. So because they're fixed, it limits how you move this handlebar. And it is the stupidest design I have ever encountered. So possibly in another video or something, I will go into deleting all of this and putting a 8-inch mini ape as God intended. And of course, now in comfort factor, we get to the seat. It is garbage. There are no pros. It is garbage. I would actually like how the seating position is if they didn't. So you can't just put a single rider seat on it like you can the Sportster. Yeah, it's like, oh, you want to like work on your own bike? Of course not. This fender would look a lot cooler without the second passenger. What do they call that? Pillion? Yeah, without that. And frankly, you cannot take this here piece. You can't get a seat with that cut off because now you got a gaping hole to all your electronics and everything. It's just the worst seat design because now it forces you to buy a $380 seat from Revzilla. And it's just, I just want a single passenger seat, a single person seat. You can't do that. And I mean, yeah, you can get one for the street rod, but it looks cheesy. And good luck paint matching it because they don't make this paint anymore. Yeah, discontinued. So again, the seat is just very uncomfortable. Like going down the highway, which this is another complaint, it is very rock hard suspension, which I think contributes to that front shimmy. These shocks do nothing. They are suggestive. They quite literally, you might as well just put a steel bar in there. They have no give, which again, it's supposed to be a sporty bike, all that stuff. I get it. But it's a little much. It is a little much. And it's one of those things where I feel like Harley put too many niches and the comfort is all over the place. And it's like a bike that I felt like if it's upgraded, it would be really good. But it should have been upgraded from the factory. And they tried to fix it with the street rod. It kind of failed with the seat. The seat seemingly has just, that's as much comfort as you're going to get out of it. Like, there is hardly any give. It's always wrinkled. It's always trying to fade. Seams are splitting. And I've seen this happen in brand new seats, by the way. They're not weatherproof, as they claim to be. They're just very horrible. And so, of course, that leaves a little to be desired, which I plan on doing something with this rear fender. I'm not sure what. That'll be upgraded. I'm going to try and find a budget way, so if anybody with a beginning bike like this wants to modify theirs a little bit better, at least they'll know how to do it on a budget. Of course, there is the lighting. The lighting sucks. It is, again, much to be desired. This is a 2016, and of course, LED was coming into play. The Sportsters already had LED lights. They're supposed to be cheaper. They're supposed to be better. And just take a look at these lights for a second. Tell me what you see wrong. Oh, that one's fine. Oh yeah, this little guy. Yeah, that's not supposed to do that. Yeah, and they couldn't have put conventional blinkers on this. Like, for example, the Sportster had those drop-down lights. They couldn't have ran those. Like, they could have ran the Sportster-style controls on this, and you would have had a mirror mount, you would have had a blinker mount, and this thing still would have looked good. They make this bar for the Sportster that has the drop-down LED. And frankly, it's a lot more visible. You can actually see it. And these things are just weak. And I frankly don't feel safe with these style bulbs. Not in the front anyway. In the back, you're fine. The front, that's the big concern. Which is another con. The headlight. Chat, what does the headlight do? Someone said it swims. I'm gonna throw you off a cliff. Nah, I'm joking. No, it's supposed to light the way, right? It doesn't. it aims itself at the ground. So I readjusted it to actually properly not get me killed. And it's not even adjusted right. Like, I have it at max adjustment, and I only see probably like where that green patch is right there, and that's it. This thing brutally sucks. Booty cheek. Yeah. And it is just horrible because it's basically, we're gonna have to put a new headlight in it, a different style headlight, and roll with that. And again, if this dissuades you or anything like that, do remember, this is still a great bike. It's just, it has issues with it, with serviceability. Now, here's the cool part about all this. You can modify this thing with aftermarket parts, with cheap Amazon galore. That was cheap Amazon galore. That's the whole switch right there. Fixed it right up. The mirror, Amazon galore. We're getting a bar, Amazon galore. Cables, Amazon. Clutch, Amazon. Shocks, Amazon. Fork springs, actually eBay. I tricked you. Anyways, so at this point, like I said, if y'all are probably tired of me yapping, like I said, I was going to give a very detailed review of this, and I am being just trying to be as detailed as I can. Yeah, it's got a lot of cons, but if you want a bike that you really want to put some potential into, this is a great bike. In fact, I was going to sell it a long time ago, but I've actually considered keeping it, modifying it out to its best capability, maxing it out. Is it really worth it at the end of the day in market value? No. But do I enjoy the hell out of it? I, in fact, do. I go everywhere on this thing. Now, before, I know I jump here, there, and everywhere, there's something else I do want to discuss with the Street. There's supposed to be a neutral light here. And when you're in neutral, the light has a 50-50 chance of turning on, and in second gear, it also has a 50-50 chance of also turning on. What does this mean, hombre? Well, let me tell you. You ever drive through a wall? Well, you can't with this. See, there's a pro. It's a 750. She will stall if you're still in gear. Unless you're really laying on the throttle. But it's one of those things where you kind of got to do the up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, 2 up, 2 down, 2 up, 2 down, 3 up. There it is. And, you know, Bob's your uncle. So, in other words, you're learning the right way about motorcycles. Another thing, before I take off here, I know I jump back and forth, and it's probably all y'all are complaining or whatever. I do not care. This is for the poor guy, poor kid, who wants his first bike and wants to know everything on it. This gauge right here, I have had so many issues out of it, it's not even funny. For example, I'm in gear right now, so it doesn't roll away. That oil light always comes on when it's in gear, not running. May I ask why? The speedometer at random intervals will just take a work day off. And it's only happened to me twice, but this is also an issue that apparently everybody suffers from. Of course, there is like this fuel light. Fuel light is very inaccurate, and it comes on, it's supposed to come on to like let you know you've got like 100 miles left in the tank or something like that. It is very inaccurate. I've had that fuel light come on when the tank is absolutely full. So, that being said, if you want a bike, no instrumentation, that pretty much teaches you the raw dog basics of motorcycling, she's perfect. But if you're looking for something fancy that does all the bells and whistles that your buddy's bike does, it ain't it. Or if you're an idiot like me and you like something to take it on the highway at Mach Jesus, she's pretty good at that too. I have video footage of me taking her around on the highway, but it's wavy. Y'all are gonna get seasick, okay? Yeah, so again, very cheap bike. Now, what is there to take from this? You decide. I can't tell you. Go buy it. Go buy it. You know, my opinion, I would say get a Honda Shadow. But if you like something really weird and just strange, but also kind of has a cool factor to it, this is your gig. Until you figure out the brakes don't work well, then it's not. But you'll figure that one out. All right, I have bored y'all with 41 minutes of yapping. I shall see you all next time.